I'm going to be talking about a necessary change, a $939 billion problem. And that's Social Security. So I'm going to be explaining the current situation of Social Security, analysis that have been on the future of Social Security and how we might change it. So, as quoted by, it's important to note, by Huffington Post and EPI, Social Security, they named it the most successful social program or social insurance ever to exist. It's been around for 83 years. So it's a system that's been around for a long time, and it really hasn't changed a whole lot since 1935, and that's kind of the big issue. So Social Security, I'll kind of explain it. So this is how it works, kind of give you a general overview. I won't go into too much depth, but there's two categories. So we all pay into Social Security when you have a job or you're self-employed or you're paying taxes. So if you're self-employed or you're an employer, you pay 12.4% to the government tax, and if you're an employee or someone that works for an employer, you pay 6.2%. That goes to the government and goes into a trust fund, the Social Security Administration Trust Fund, which then gets split up into two categories. So Social Security focuses on two parts. There's disability insurance, and then there's old age and survivors insurance, which is bigger than the disability. And I'm not going to focus on the disability right now because that's a totally other thing. We're going to focus on people that are retired and getting up to that age. So, yeah, I kind of explain how it works, and then I'm going to explain a few things. So, right now, as of 2017, so this is where all this information came up, because that's the last year when the SSA, Social Security Administration, released all that information. So, the average person is making $1,372 a month, or $16,464 a year. So that's how much they're getting paid on average for the retiree. And that's important. So, yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, it's that pool of money that gets divided up. So let's look at the budget. So this comes from the Congressional Budget Office, or the CBO. And this shows what the U.S. is spending money on. As you can see, Social Security is the biggest. That's what we pay most of. A lot of people may think it's like the defense budget or Medicare, although Medicare and the defense budget come in second and third, but it's not. The biggest one that we spend money on is Social Security, and that's kind of the issue that I want to cover. So the issues with it, so let's talk about a few things. So they estimate when we're going to run out of the trust fund, so when they're not going to have enough money to pay for the amount of retirees that are there, so they're not going to have enough to pay it out. We're going to be and what's important to understand is, so like there's several dates that are thrown out there, but we're going to go with the one from the Social Security Administration, which is 2034. But other sources like Fox News released 2020, and AARP ensured that it would not be an issue until 2090. But we're going to go with what the SSA says. And this is important because now remember that those numbers aren't set in stone, because policy can change at any time. And usually it will. If there's an issue coming up, they change it when it happens now, not later. So we're going to look at trying to prevent that issue from happening. And then we got baby boomers. So baby boomers are a generation from 1946 to 1964. Anyone born in that time. And a lot of them are reaching the retirement age, an average of 10,000 a day, and that's expected to continue at that rate until 2030, according to the SSA, which is a big issue because that means that there's more people retiring, there's more people that we need to pay Social Security for, and then there's less workers per retiree. So let's look at that. So right here, the SSA has been keeping track of data. So like I explained earlier, so this is us. This is where people that are working, are not part of Social Security, they're all paying into this. And then there's a big group of people here, we're going to ignore these right now, that pool of money is being split out to. So there's a certain amount of workers per person that's retired. And that number is depleting all the time. And this is an issue because if we have less people paying for one retiree, it's going to be harder to keep paying that out and have these people actually live a comfortable retirement. So they started keeping track of this in 1945. It did start in 1935, but this is when the SSA started keeping track of it. So if you look, you see a huge drop within 5 years. And this can be explained for a few reasons. One is life expectancy. So in 1935, the average life expectancy in the United States was 62 years old. And that's, obviously females live longer than males, but we're just gonna take the average. And in order to receive Social Security benefits, you have to be 62 at least. And so you gotta be 62, average life expectancy is 62. It's hard to reach that age, where the average life expectancy currently in the United States, according to WHO, the World Health Organization, is 78.9 years old. And that hasn't changed. So Social Security right now, you can still receive benefits at 62. I'm not going to get into details as far as how full benefits work or that, but you can receive it at 62 and the average life expectancy is 78. So this is a huge problem because more and more people are living longer, therefore, and receiving it earlier. So it hasn't stayed up to par with how it was initially designed. So one way that we could change that is raising the age to a little bit above the average that people are living, so not as many people are receiving it. And then that's obviously a debated issue, but it would help this problem, because right now in 2010, 2.9 people were paying for one person that was retired through Social Security, and the SSA estimated that'll be down to 2 by 2030, which is an even bigger issue. And we want people to obviously live a comfortable life, so we're gonna have to find an adjustment to make this issue kind of be dissolved. So moving forward, let's talk about maybe some other solutions that we can look into. So like I mentioned, we can raise the minimum age to receive Social Security benefits, and then we can change the structure of the program. So there's a huge array of people's opinions on how we can change that, and there's not necessarily one perfect solution or one specific answer to the problem. There's a lot of things that go into it. And some suggest like raising the current tax. So this right here, what you're paying in taxes, they suggest raising it to compensate for it, which is definitely a solution. And then some have mentioned privatization, so allowing Social Security to move into a private sector. But this brings a lot of debate because with it being private, that brings a lot of other pros and cons compared to it being in the government. And some have suggested a hybrid. Now, I'm not going to go into too many details because I don't have a whole lot of time to explain how privatization works, but a lot of people have suggested a hybrid system to where we take privatized elements and implement it into Social Security. So like a lot of you heard of like stocks and bonds, right? So Social Security can work with that, but it's not like heavily like that. A lot of people will invest through third-party people, mutual funds like that for retirement. So one proposal is maybe to implement that more heavily into Social Security, so people are getting a better return on investment, and it's not all on this pool of money. It's kind of divided up, so it's not so stressed here. But what can we really do to solve this? Well, the issue is far away, but it's better to solve it before it happens than when it happens. And the biggest way that we can do that, obviously, is a lot of you might not care. You may think, oh, that's a long way until I reach that age when it matters. But it does matter because you're paying into it now. And if you can't receive that later, or it's less, or it's just not the same program, you're going to feel, a little bummed out that you're paying into it all these years and you're not getting anything back. So the best way to solve this issue is to simply talk about it with people, get it out there, word of mouth. We'll put this issue in the White House. Just motivate, just talk. The more we talk about it, the more it will become a pressing issue, and the more likely our leaders are going to deal with it. Thank you.